Hello, hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to another episode of Elements of Success. Today, we are talking about something so important, which is what do we do after we've uprooted our limiting beliefs? We've acknowledged them. Like, what the heck do we do next? So, today, we are talking about replanting your garden of self. So, just in case you don't know me yet, this is your first time tuning in. I'm Safriana Luna. I'm a licensed trauma therapist turned transformational mentor. I am also known as the Queer Spirit Guide. I am a druid, an author, and a speaker and a teacher. So let's dive right in with a little bit of review. Last time we talked about, hit the space bar there. Last time we talked about uprooting those beliefs. And today we are going to be talking about what to do next. Good morning, Amy and Nancy. And before that, we had talked about trauma north being one of the most important concepts I think that we can understand, which is that we're always going to circle back around to those triggers, those traumatic memories, those energies or situations that feel like something from our past. And so trauma north is part of our healing journey. In order to move beyond that, we have to start gently uprooting these limiting beliefs. And I taught the ABCs model last time, which we're going to get into with an expanded model today, and see how that can really help us begin to anchor in new beliefs. And I'm encouraging you to have earth connected beliefs in your nervous system, because Mother Earth is, you're part of her. You were born here. You are made of the same stuff that Mama Gaia is. You are a part of the seasons. You are impacted by the seasons, the lunar flow, all of that. So why not develop beliefs that really support your connection to all of that? And of course, we're going to talk today about sustainable practices that can help support your nervous system. And we'll talk about really replanting a belief garden that really can support you in a brand new way. So, last time we talked about the ABCs and how A is the activating event or an antecedent that leads to a belief, which is your idea structure running through your brain as soon as something's happened. And that leads to a consequence, both physically, you feel the feelings in your body, you have an emotional sense of something that's happened. And then the third consequence is your behavior. And that's the only place that you have any control. It's so important for you to remember that your body literally keeps the score of your beliefs. So we'll talk again about limiting beliefs today. But if you're running around thinking, I'm worthless, I'm lazy, I'm good for nothing, well, your body is going to believe those things and it's going to respond accordingly. What we think has so much power over our nervous system, over our physiology, that it is incredible we don't talk about it more. So your thoughts literally build this physical presence that you have. And when you have a lot of limiting beliefs, you have a lot of negative self-beliefs, you literally are creating a chronic stress pattern. I may have said this before, but I want to say it again. You bullying yourself is just as impactful on your nervous system as if someone outside of you were bullying you. So if you are saying negative things to yourself, you are reinforcing that in your physiology, you're reinforcing it in your nervous system, you're reinforcing it in all of this, and that is creating a chronic stress pattern. So of course we don't want to do that anymore. We want to liberate this. So the evolving perspective is to feel your new beliefs, not just think them, because you have to bring them down into the physiological level, just like those limiting beliefs are already running in the background. Your nervous system needs to feel safe in order to accept change. And it is only through repetition that we can create these new neural pathways. It's like walking a new path through the forest. If you walk a new path through the forest every single day for a month, you're going to notice that the foliage is probably going to wear down a little bit more there. It's going to start to work a new groove. So we have to create a pattern and repetition, because just because we understand something in our head does not mean we understand it in our body. And I really, really want to re-emphasize all of this, because if you try to rush the process, if you try to force yourself to change your mind, if you try to force yourself to hold a new belief, if you try to force yourself to do something new, it is not going to end well for you. It's going to backfire. So it's essential that we give ourselves the time and space to slowly integrate these things. I'm going to give you some tools today and some considerations on how to do that. So, earth connected versus earth disconnected belief systems. So, most of us are running around with earth disconnected patterns and belief systems, such as productivity over being. Raising my hand here because I have struggled with this one so hard, which is that I'm only valuable when I am producing something. I'm only valuable when I'm doing something, when I'm creating a product, when I'm making a service, when I'm connecting with a client, when I'm cleaning my house, when insert whatever doing thing here. But we go so much beyond production. We are so much more than producers and doers. We're also beers, or we need to be anyway. Individuality over community. We can really get into this idea that we need to do everything alone. And this is actually a legacy, especially in modern patriarchal cultures, where there is this idea of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and being able to do it all alone. And that just doesn't work. That's not how biodiversity works. Linear over cyclical. We have this idea like, I should be through my healing already. Like I already did the work, and we believe that it's going to be a straight line. We did the healing work. We're over it now, moving on. But it is, as we've talked about, more of a circle and a spiral upward. That trauma north, right? We hit that point over and over and over again. We over identify with the mind instead of our body, and we think we can think our way out of feelings, or that we should be able to think our way out of feelings, that mind over matter, right? But again, not how it really works. This really makes me think of a metaphor that's come up so many times in the last week in talking with people, which is the metaphor of a little second grader coming into the room, and they've drawn a little crayon picture, and they're just so excited to show you this little crayon picture that they've created. And they're like, hey, look. And they're just feeling, so enthusiastic, and they're trying to show. And the adult in the room is like, I'm busy. I don't have time for that. Right. Like, oh, go play. Right. They're trying to shoo off this child, where what that creates is the child is now desperate. Now maybe they start tugging on the sleeve going, hey, pay attention to me. Hey, pay attention. And then maybe we're getting frustrated. The adult is getting frustrated. Like, oh my gosh, I told you to go away. This is what we do with our emotions. This is what we do with our mind. We are the adult telling the child to go away, where in reality, if we just turn towards the emotion, we turn towards the sensation, the feeling, and we go, oh, hey, right? Just like the little kid, oh, what a nice drawing. That's amazing. And then the kid's like, yeah. And then they run off like they're done. They have completed. If we are like that with our emotions and our sensations, we look towards them, we lean in, and we go, oh, hey, that's a interesting thing that's going on over there. Tell me about that. We get to know these parts of us a little bit more. It can really change how we're relating to that mind, body, full essence of who we are. So I really encourage you to be kind and gentle to your parts, because as I mentioned earlier, the impact of your own inner voice is just as impactful if a bully outside of you were saying those things to you. So then finally, speed over seasons. We get in like, oh my gosh, everybody's so far ahead. I was actually hanging out with some friends last night, and one of the things I was talking about my friend with was this idea that we compare to each other. And I tell people never to compare themselves to me, because I'm a manifesting generator in human design. I'm highly creative. I'm ADHD as heck. So I love producing content and writing and making videos and doing this and doing that, making graphics. Like, that's me. That's who I am. And so I might be appearing to move faster or making quote unquote more than others, but that's part of my purpose and my design. So there is no one right speed, but there is a right season. Even if I go faster or I create quote unquote more than some other people, I'm still going with a rhythm of my seasons, of a time of resting, a time of daydreaming and planting and growing and harvesting and circling back around to the beginning. So how do we begin to connect these beliefs? We can tune into our sacred rhythm. If we know, like, I honor my natural cycles of energy and rest, that might look like my natural cycle of energy and rest Uh, I'm not, it was so funny this morning, literally, I was still in bed at, I think 10:15, because my rhythm this morning was I needed to go really slow because I've been having a really busy time and my body was telling me, oh, we need some more rest. Our energy is a little lower. And if I were operating out of a traditional, disconnected mindset, if I had not designed my life around my ability to follow these rhythms, I would have forced myself out of bed. I would have gotten on my computer early. I would have done all of the productive things, right? But instead, because I have a connected belief around sacred rhythm, I was able to honor my energy level and give myself that extra space. And that's like shocking to some people. I literally had a conversation with a client recently that was all about how she felt ashamed that she wanted to sleep in the morning and she had the capacity to do it, but she felt this deep shame that it was a bad thing for her to do. So we need to like bust through that. Notice just the belief. Like she had the capacity to rest, but she believed she couldn't, so she didn't. And so she stresses herself out more. So we really need to start to connect in with what's right for me, what's right for my rhythm. An interconnected web. I talked about the biodiversity. I am a part of a supportive ecosystem. I know that if I need spiritual support, I have several people I can call on. If I need mental health support, I have several people I can call on. If I need physical support, I can call on my fitness friends, and I have like several yoga instructor friends. And, like I know if I need support, I know where I can go reach for it because I can't do everything on my own. It's the interconnected web. Spiral wisdom. So, that trauma north, we talked a lot about the spiral and how ideally we are healing in a way that the spiral expands and it opens as we climb. My healing happens in spirals with gifts at each turn. Imagine having that belief that you can look at that trauma north, that trigger, that healing process, that shadow work, and go, wow. And there was a gift at every turn of this journey that changes everything. I was recently writing. I do kind of channeled writing with my guides, and one of my guides was like, "You figured out the shadow light spiral journey. Now it's about accepting it." And that's the message I want to bring to everyone else too: is we have to accept that the healing comes in these spirals and that there are gifts at every turn, and adopt that belief in order for it to be allowed to happen. Somatic intelligence, my body's wisdom guides my decisions. So let's just think for a moment about the planet herself, right? The planet herself goes through seasons because of rotations and the relationship with the sun and all of that. And then we have um, the moon, who also is, I like to call her grandmother moon, who is up there rotating and spinning and moving through the sky. And so our relationship is constantly changing when we orient to these bodies, the body of earth, the body of the moon, and our own body. And when we can feel into the wisdom that's actually there, that the moon as a body is teaching a lesson about phases and quick movement, and the body of the earth is teaching us about that seasonal transformation and these turning points and growth cycles and all of that. Our body holds that same wisdom of phases and high energy, low energy, of ebb and flow. Hi, madam. My one cat is very insistent today that I be the one to pet her. And then we have seasonal timing, trusting our divine timing and our natural pace, because we really have so many artificial metrics in the world of productivity and how time's supposed to work, and deadlines and all of this. And even me as a writer, like I'll create these artificial deadlines of when I want things to be done. But instead, if we can lean into trusting divine timing and our own natural pace in a way that honors our energy, that allows our bodies to be at ease, our nervous systems to relax, our minds to slow down and not race, that's us finding those seasons. And I'll talk a little bit more later about the specific wisdom of the seasons and how that relates to us. But really learning to trust that we have our own inherent divine rhythm and we can tap into that and we can move forward with that. So the somatic truth as I've addressed it, is that bodies reject forced change. Last episode, I used the example of the breathwork apprenticeship, where we were taught not to try and over breathe or hold our breath more or do extra than like 5 minutes a day of breath work until our nervous systems begin to get used to it. If you try to shock your nervous system by going from 0 to 100, your nervous system will freak out. The limbic system is designed to slow us down. And this is a protective pattern. Imagine, this was a metaphor. It's a little graphic metaphor, so it's a little violent. Just a warning. But you are standing behind a fence and you have a goal on the other side of the fence, all the way across the yard on the other side of the fence. Up in the tree, there is a sniper. We'll say the sniper has a tranquilizer dart because that's essentially what the limbic system does. So you're like, okay, I am going to sprint for my goal as fast as I can. I'm going to get there as quickly as I can. And you start running, you're a big giant target for that sniper with that tranquilizer. The limbic system goes, whoa, that's too much action too quickly, and literally shuts us down. So as you're sprinting full speed ahead, trying to get to your goal, your nervous system is going, that's danger. We need to shut this down. And so the limbic system, it's almost like being put to sleep. And that is designed so that we don't overdo it. I see this happen all the time in people who are like, I'm going to go to the gym. And then they're like, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week for 2 hours. And then they don't do it at all. Or they make it the first time. And then they're so scared after they try to force themselves to be there for 2 hours. And then like their muscles are killing them the next day and they give up. Slow integration is the key, slowly moving the nervous system towards the goal. In that metaphor, it's like you sneak into the fence and you see the limbic system, you see the tranquilizer dart, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go so slow that it's almost like they can't see me because we're only going one little bit at a time. And then we can make it across in a more natural pace. So your protective patterns were designed to keep you safe. Forcing change makes your nervous system dig in harder. Safety before change. Safety not to like keep yourself stagnant forever. That's not what I mean. But safety in actually allowing yourself the slowness to try new things and to do what I call build the ramp from 0 to 100 slowly over time so that you're not overdoing it. The replanting approach, as we're talking about this metaphor of replanting your garden, is to honor that your old beliefs were trying to protect you. If you bully your old beliefs, you're like, how could I ever think that? I'm so stupid. What are you doing? You're continuing to reinforce the negative patterns. Instead, if you're like, oh, I totally understand why this part of me had the belief that I needed to stay small and silent. That part of me was really trying to protect me. That belief was really trying to protect me. And I understand that now. And, instead I'd like to have a new belief that there are many places it's perfectly safe for me to be visible. And there are places I can be visible. And I'm going to start to adopt that over time by going out and actually seeing where it feels safe to be visible, by doing little tiny pieces of visibility to show up and see what happens. And then over time, the body can begin to anchor in that change. There's, of course, a lot of body-based practices. Next time, we're going to start talking more about breath work, but today we're going to be talking about EFT tapping. EMDR can be a tool for introducing and anchoring in change. There's all kinds of tools out there, but it is ultimately the need to create safety for our nervous systems through grounding. Grounding literally meaning like coming down to earth, feeling our bodies, feeling our feet on the ground, feeling the breath in the body. All of those can be grounding. And building safe community spaces, finding places where we can be who we really are. The living garden. Your beliefs need ongoing tending just like a real garden. Beliefs are not like a plant it and forget it. They are a water regularly, a weed when needed, a seasonally assess, look out for community support, and having patience with timing. That's more of what new beliefs look like. So we need those daily practices to reinforce new beliefs. We need to notice when our old patterns are resurfacing. And without shame, because the second shame starts to come in, we really lose that momentum because the shame is bullying us now. So it's like, if we can notice, oh, when this old pattern resurfaces, I have a pattern with shame. Okay, well, how do we meet that shame? Or how do we meet that angry part, or whatever comes up for us when we're looking at our old patterns? And the seasonal assessment is really about checking in regularly. So I use the wheel of the year and the lunar cycles. So, wheel of the year, if you're not familiar, are the 8 holidays, the equinoxes, the solstices, and the 4 cross quarter days that I find the most brilliant opportunity to just check in and tune in to what is alive in me in that moment, what's present, what's happening in the world right now, what do I need to release? What do I need to integrate? What do I maybe need to change? And so that's where you can use the moon, you can use the seasons, you can use a lot of different times to be your seasonal assessments of reevaluating yourself. Like, what's my progress? Where am I on my healing spiral? And then where do I get support to continue growing? Who are my trusted supports, my witnesses, my guides, my people I just go have fun with to build that joy and momentum? And then finally, strong roots develop over seasons, not days. Again, you can't just plant a new belief and go, I'm going to believe I'm a badass. And that's all I need to do. I just say, I believe I'm a badass. And now I never need to address that again. Like, that's what we think. We want it to be easy. We want it to be quick. But no, like, I have to reinforce every single day that I'm a badass until it is so inherent to who I am that I just know it in my whole being. It's integrated into every cell of me. That's what we're looking for, is that belief to be the first belief that comes up. So you need to give your inner garden consistent loving care to continue to cultivate new beliefs. So I mentioned that we were going to talk about the ABCs again, and I used this example last week. You're walking down the street and you see a friend across the way and you wave at them and they don't wave back. Your belief goes, well, they must hate me, or, oh, I guess they didn't see me. So if you have a lot of negative limiting self-beliefs, you're probably going to think something more like they hate me. And if you have really positive self beliefs like I'm a badass, then you're probably going to be like, well, they must not have seen me. Our inner world really creates this outer world. And then because that belief is so subconscious, it hits instantly. We respond instantly with that C, the consequence of, if it was negative, maybe anxiety, isolation. If it was positive, maybe curiosity or more connection. So, right, if I think my friend hates me and that they did see me and they just didn't wave, I might not reach out to that friend. I might isolate. I might feel like, what did I do wrong? Versus if I have a positive self belief, I might message my friend and be like, so funny today. I saw you on the street. We were walking down, Maine at 4 o'clock and I waved at you. You looked lost in thought or something. Like, curiosity and an outreach for connection. So the beliefs really determine how we're going to respond and how we're going to move forward. So what we want to add now to this equation is, okay, what's next? So I encourage you to really get to know when you have a consequence, you flare with anxiety, your body feels like it's on fire, to try and rewind and go, well, what belief ran through my head just now that caused this flare? But even if you don't catch it, you can practice that. That's a practice of catching it and rewinding and trying to figure out what belief came up so that you can rework it into something new over time. But even if you don't catch it, you can begin to add the D and E step, and this comes from Seligman's model, which is learned optimism. So you have the challenging event, you have the automatic thoughts and feelings that come up, you have the emotional and physical responses, and maybe a behavior. But you could choose the behavior of D, disputation. And this is really more of a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy lens of actively questioning the limiting belief. What I really want to caveat with here and be so clear with is, it shouldn't be, well, how could you think that? Or that's so stupid. Again, you don't want to bully yourself. So instead, it's like, is it really true that my friend must hate me? Well, we hung out last week and we seemed like we had a good time. So do I have evidence that they hate me other than that they just didn't wave to me on the street? No. Okay. So then we can be energized. Energization, the renewed energy from the new perspective can push us forward. So a gentle questioning of, well, is this really in this moment? Does this actually make sense for what's going on in the situation? Do I need to gather more information? Just that gentle questioning about what's happening so that we can dispute it gently. Again, not in a that's really dumb, don't do that kind of way, but in a, oh, okay, I see why that's there, but also I'm going to disconnect from that consciously. And that energization of the renewed perspective is kind of choosing, what do I want to anchor into as my new belief? So they probably didn't see me. And then I can move back into curiosity and connection. So use your disputation, that gentle questioning, to challenge the earth disconnected beliefs and energize with earth connected alternatives. So I'm alone, nobody likes me, to there is a greater interconnected web of life. Where can I tune into that? When old beliefs arise, pause and ask, is this actually serving my growth or is it limiting it? If your belief is limiting your growth, it's probably one that you want to release and that you want to work to uproot. If it's serving your growth, great, keep on keeping on. So I want to really dive into EFT tapping today and why I believe it works, what we've seen. EFT tapping, if you are not familiar, is a somatic method, so a physical method using the hands to tap on points on the face, on the upper torso. It can be used on the hands. There's quite a few different techniques within EFT tapping, and I also love it combined with EMDR type strategies, which employ bilateral stimulation, meaning back and forth. I'll talk a little bit about that. But EFT can be an excellent tool for actually getting new beliefs in your body because you are tying a mental practice, words, in with a physical practice of tapping on the body. And this means that you are actually working in your mind and in your body in the same time. And so the nervous system kind of is getting that connection. Uh, if you believe in the meridian system in the body, which comes from ancient systems, especially Chinese medicine, the meridian system belief states that there are these different connection points through the body that govern different systems and can release different energies or different statuses. And so the tapping, the points are based on that meridian system to kind of dislodge what's stuck there. And EFT tapping can create safety while you're trying to introduce a new belief, because you're literally like tapping it in and you can feel things happening in your body as you're doing that to know whether it's feeling more safe or if maybe you need to back off and try something different. And again, it's naturally grounded in the physical system. So here are the tapping points, just in case you're not familiar. There's the karate chop point, which is the side of the hand. I'm going to go ahead and take my glasses off. Then we come usually to the top of the head, to the inner eyebrow, to the side of the eye, then under the eye, under the nose, the chin, the collarbone. And I know you can't really see it on my camera here, but the sides, if you wear a bra, it's kind of where the bra strap would sit. Otherwise, it's not all, it's like midway through your side ribs. And that we call that I like to call this the chicken point, because I do little chicken arms and I do both of my arms. So those are the basic points. And we're going to do a practice here in a moment, but I just want to continue to explain it a little bit because our rabbi, this comment was from a minute ago, but our rabbi calls it filling out the police report of the facts. I love that for disputation. Yes, like look at your facts. And you can use EFT and tie it in with, I'm teaching it for anchoring new beliefs, but normally it's used for releasing old ones. So that disputation can actually be a great time to do some tapping on the limiting beliefs that are coming up. So, it might be, I feel really stupid right now. and you are tapping on that to release it. And then you go back through and you reinforce, like, no, I'm brilliant in my own way. So there's lots of uses for EFT. Today we're just focusing on using it to anchor the new beliefs into your body. So my suggestion is to feel your feet on the earth. I rarely do this. My feet are literally folded under me right now. So I'm going to do this with you and get my feet on the floor. And that is just a way to ground our energy, to kind of prepare ourselves physically to do a practice. And then normally we'd start by honoring our old pattern with something like, even though I used to believe I couldn't be visible, I deeply love and accept myself. And we usually do this 3 times. So even though I used to believe blah, 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 I deeply love and accept myself. And we'd say that again. And then we would go through our tapping points, saying our statements that we want to build on. So, maybe it's, I'm effortlessly visible. I'm visible in so many ways. And we're just anchoring, we're saying positive things as we go through all of the tapping points. Then we can really kind of anchor in with a body gesture. So I love to do my hands on my heart and my feet on the ground, and maybe my other hand on my stomach to kind of get that whole core interaction there. And then breathing and really picturing all the beliefs going to every cell of our being so that they are in us in a brand new way. So another sample script might be, even though part of me still believes I have to do everything alone, I deeply love and accept myself. And then through the points, it might be, I'm part of an interconnected web of support the whole way through. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to intuitively lead one here, and we're going to see what comes up. And I invite you to follow along with me. I want to talk a little bit about the bilateral so that you can decide if it's right for you. Again, I'm a trained trauma therapist, so I really try to be super trauma informed. And bilateral stimulation means back and forth. So when you're walking, you're actually bilateral stimulating your brain because you're moving your right leg and then you're moving your left leg. And the back and forth actually turns the hemispheres of the brain on and off and on and off. Like essentially you're bouncing back and forth. And what that does when we're doing reprocessing, when we're doing trauma work, when we're doing shadow work, is it brings the whole brain online so that information can kind of filter through and settle in more easily. If you're focusing on a trauma and you're doing the bilateral stimulation, it can make it more intense because your brain is finally trickling it through. But that's why EMDR, which is eye movement, EMD processing, I believe, reprogramming. I can never remember the exact acronym, but basically it's an eye movement therapy where they're moving the eyes back and forth, which is causing the brain to switch from one side to the other in that. And you can also do it this way with your arms crossed and have your hands going back and forth. You can do it on the legs. There's so many ways to bilateral. So when you're tapping, if you want that extra level, you can tap both points on either side of the body, going back and forth with which one you're using. So I do that myself because I like it on hardcore mode. Please, please do what's right for you. So we're just going to go ahead. We're talking about limiting beliefs. We're talking about gently uprooting them and bringing in more ease for ourselves. So I'm just going to tap on what I think many of us are feeling right now. And I'm going to demo in a way that you can follow along. You can repeat out loud after me. I'll give some spaciousness for you to repeat out loud in your own space if you would like. And that makes it so much more powerful to say it out loud, because then you're not just thinking it, you're using another part of the brain to say it out loud, and you're doing the tapping. So you're really getting this full physical experience. So right here, right now, I just invite you to take stock of your body, take stock of the breath, and just notice right here, right now, if you're feeling any tension or stress in the body. And we'll just kind of take a measurement here on a 0 to 10 scale. How distressed do you feel right now? How heavy do you feel right now? Whatever word's coming to mind for you. I'm feeling a little background anxiety, a little flutter in my stomach. I'd give it a 4 out of 10. It's not too intense, but just kind of make your own little note, a little bookmark about how you're feeling right now, just so you can notice what happens as you do the tapping. All right. So we're going to start on the side of the hand here with our karate chop. And again, you can repeat out loud after me if you'd like. Even though times are really tough right now, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though times are really hard right now, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though times are really hard right now, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I'm amazing. I am doing my best. I am connecting in. I am present. I am here for myself. I'm showing up to do the work. I deeply and completely love myself. I deeply and completely love myself. All right, this next round, I'm going to say the points out loud just to reinforce them on top of the head. I am stepping into a new level of love. Inside the eyebrows. I love myself and I love my neighbor. Outside the eyes. I am open to more love on earth. Under the eyes. I am a force of love. Under the nose. I am the change I want to see in the world. On the chin. I embrace positive emotions. On the collarbone. And I embrace positive beliefs. And at the sides, the rib points. And I love and accept my most difficult emotions too. Top of the head. I am willing to be love in the world. Inside the eyebrows, I am doing my best. Outside the eyes, I show up in love in all I do. Under the eyes, I breathe and be. Under the nose, outside challenges do not determine my inner world. Chin, I am opening to a more loving way of being. Collarbones, I am love embodied. And finally, the rib points again. I am love embodied. And just take a nice big deep breath here. Relax the arms to the sides, feet on the floor. And just take a moment here as you land to look up, look to the right and down, twist and look behind you. Then look up to the left, down, and then twist to look behind you again. And once again, I just invite you to take stock, that 0 to 10 scale, that tension that you might have noticed earlier, or any other sensations. Has that shifted? Has that changed? Just noticing what's here. I'm definitely noticing That tension in my stomach is completely gone. I definitely feel more anchored in love and remembering who I am and what I'm here to be and do. And that the most important energy we can be in is love. So that's my number one belief, is unconditional love for everyone in the collective. So I'd love to know, how this practice serves and supports you. There's so much you can do with EFT tapping. Like I said, normally it's used to tap on a negative belief, like we did with the karate chop. And normally I suggest at least 3 rounds on a negative, like on a limiting belief, where you're tapping through the points and you're just venting. You might vent about the physical sensation in your body, the emotion that's arising, the memory, until you start to feel that charge come down. Ideally, your charge comes to a 0, and you're able to then tap positive things in its place. This video is going on a loop. From an 11 to a 4. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry you were at 11, but I'm so glad you're at a 4 now. Yeah, the EFT tapping is I discovered it in college when I was training to be a therapist, and I got to design my own course. I basically designed and took my own course, and it was on alternative methods of healing. And so I dove deep into some of the other somatic methods that we could use aside from CBT and talking about things. And EFT tapping was one of the first things I uncovered that I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And then being EMDR trained, to see that that bilateral can come in to help us bring it down even more or to get it even deeper. That's really, really powerful. But again, go at your own pace. It is less intense to tap with just one hand on points, but you can do that back and forth if you want that extra level. And if this is of interest to you and you'd like some more like EFT scripted videos with me just helping you tap through points, let me know. That would be something I'd be totally happy to make. So, as we move on, I really want to encourage you to go back to the drawing board and literally redesign your garden of belief. We had an activity a few episodes ago where I was talking about identifying your beliefs in the spiral or looking at the roots of where things have come from. Of course, I'm going to offer some more creative and artistic ideas. You can even draw this. You could draw your own little garden and have maybe on the back your limiting beliefs in your garden plots, and then flip it over and draw your new garden with your new beliefs. One on abundance would be good. Yeah, maybe I'll do an abundance EFT tapping soon. So we want to find those limiting beliefs that we've identified. And for each limiting belief, create a more earth connected replacement. If you leave it as a big empty hole, it's going to be filled up by whatever negativity comes along next. So it's really important that we work towards, okay, I'm plucking this up, I'm uprooting this. There's now a hole here, and here is what I'm going to plant in its place. And then to cultivate that. This is even, I'll just use a very straightforward example of a physical concept of this. If you have been smoking cigarettes to cope, right? And you're like, I'm going to cold turkey quit smoking and I have nothing to replace it. You're probably going to pick up the smoking again. If you're like, I'm going to start quitting smoking, I'm going to amp it down. I'm slowly going to replace my smoking habit with an herbal tea for anxiety. So every time I want to go smoke, I'm going to give myself a pause, and then I'm going to see if I can go make the cup of tea instead, right? That's the replacement. There's something there in its place to do a similar function. We want a new updated behavior or belief that connects us to ourselves, that empowers us, that really drops us into our beingness, our essence, our core. And then we want to write these as present tense embodied statements. So I am, I do, I grow, I discern, like I am this. And we want these to be beliefs that actually honor your nervous system, that aren't like things that you don't really want to believe. You need to want to believe these things too. They need to be inherent and authentic to who you are. And I would just work on 3 to 5 core beliefs over time, where you really focus in on practicing building new things with that. Not your entire belief structure. Start with one, build up to 3 to 5. Um, we don't change overnight. Again, we can't rush it, so go slow. For example, I'm not worthy could be I'm inherently valuable, like every part of nature, instead of I have to be perfect. I grow through cycles of learning like the seasons. Instead of I can't trust others, I discern wisely and remain open to connections, right? Like there's so many replacements we can have. And as promised, I said I would come back to our seasons and our lunar rhythms and how these can help us continue to adapt. Springtime is for new beginnings, planting new beliefs, and ritual intention setting. Summer is for growth, nurturing through daily practices and community support. Autumn is for harvest, which is really integrating and acknowledging all the progress that we've made, celebrating the fruits of our labors. And winter is about rest, reflecting on our journey and preparing for the next growth cycle. You can absolutely follow this in the calendar year and only start new beginnings in the spring and only grow in the summer and only harvest in the fall and only rest in the winter. But that's not really how the human beingness works. There are seasons in every day. There's seasons in every week. And then, of course, there are the really lived, embodied seasons outside the window where you can see here it's very hot and everything's in bloom. So, how do these energies of new beginnings, growth, harvest, rest show up in your life? If you're missing the rest, if you're missing the harvest, if you're missing the growth, right? It's time to go back and look at your rhythm again. And then, of course, lunar rhythms can teach us about new beginnings and reviewing and readjusting, and then releasing old patterns and celebrating our progress. So I love to use the new moons to kind of review and look back, and the full moons to release additional stuff. There's so many ways to play with these energies. As a reminder, I want you to have lasting change, not temporary solutions. So maybe you start working in one daily practice to help you make lasting changes. Maybe that is a morning belief affirmation with grounding. So, for example, on my bathroom mirror in dry erase marker, I have affirmations that I've written out. And sometimes one of my daily practices, because I'm not consistent at all, I kind of bounce all over the place. But my sometimes morning practice is to look in the mirror and read my affirmations with my feet on the ground, and really feel that and say it and hear it. EFT tapping can be a great daily practice. You can do some tapping on just the positive beliefs. If you can't remember the tapping points, by the way, the collarbone bilateral is plenty. You can start just there. You could do a gratitude practice. So, like, I'm really grateful for this growth that happened today. I'm really grateful for what I harvested today. Again, creating a new belief requires that you actually have a somatic, aka physical practice of rewiring your nervous system so that you can grow into it. That means EFT tapping, movement, breath work, journaling, saying things out loud, something other than thinking it in your head. You have to get out of your head and into your body. That's what all of this is about. So again, my invitation as you move forward is to consider performing a sacred planting ceremony. So this is just a suggestion, an idea that you could take, but if you were to pick one core belief, one earth connected belief that you really want to integrate into your system, ground yourself, your feet planted, feeling the earth's support, speaking your new belief out loud 3 times, noticing any body sensations that are coming up that you might want to work with or clear, and then using the EFT to anchor the new belief into your system, connect with your heart, breathe the beliefs all the way down into every cell of your being. See those energetic roots connecting to the earth's support, to the community around you, grounding you, and then maybe doing some integrative journaling and actually writing out, scripting, if you will, the new belief and how you want it to show up in your day-to-day life. So these are some ideas for planting your garden of self. I hope that ultimately you're walking away going, okay, I'm not supposed to uproot the whole garden all at once. because that's true. You're not supposed to do that. But where do I want to do some weeding? What is the first area of my inner world that I want to work on? Is it a belief that you have about yourself and your capacity? Is it a belief about needing to be productive all the time? Is it a belief about not being liked or it being too dangerous to be visible? Whatever limiting belief that you are really feeling, under pressure with right now, how can you bring that up, uproot it gently, look at it, play with it, and go, well, what do you want to transform into? What would you rather be doing than holding this really negative thing? Finding that replacement so that you can uproot and put the new belief in, and then practice, 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 practice. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not immediate. And you're so very welcome. I'm so glad you were able to tune in live today. Next, so we're doing this whole season's framework. This is the end of the earth and stories part of the season's framework. So we've been looking all at your stories, your limiting beliefs, the new stories you want to bring in, the way that you want to build your own legend, your own mythology. All of that we've covered. We've talked about EFT tapping. We've done some meditations connecting with trees and the root systems. We've done all of this earth-based stuff. Now we're going to move into air and our energy. Whether you understand energy sensitivity as a gift or not, what I mean by your vital energy is your life force. So we'll really be tuning into our life force energy and being alive and what that means, and all the places that we really lose our energy, where it gets sapped. So we'll talk about how thoughts and communication affects our energy, and we'll do some breath work together. But yeah, we're moving into the air and energy portion of seasons. So I hope that you've been enjoying Elements of Success so far. This concludes our first story arc, if you will, and we'll be moving into that segment in 2 more weeks. So if there is anything else that you would like, anything I can assist with, anything you'd love me to cover in this series, please don't hesitate to let me know. And yeah, I'm going to make a little note to maybe do some abundance EFT scripting, because, oh my gosh, we need it, don't we, in these challenging times. But know that I have an abundance of love for you, friends. I am always here, always celebrating all of your growth and your rest. That's important too. I see you, I believe in you, and I'm cheering you on. So until next time, I'm Safriana Luna, the Queer Spirit Guide. Thank you as always for being here with me, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.